On and we are recording on Tuesday, January 13th, 2026 at 10:18 a.m. Eastern Time with Mr. Adam DeRito and I do, and before every show I meditate and pray, and I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but rather to give glory to God. I'm 2 years sober today and I'm very psyched about that, and that's
Congratulations.
thank you, but that's the big man. That ain't me. And I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was just praying and it just popped in my head. I was like, give God a shout out. So thank you, big man. Thank you, Jesus. Um, but yeah, so I went on Oldman's show with you, and we were just talking. And again, sometimes people, you can always tell how retarded people are, which was just the topic we were talking about. And people, I've been called a Fed since I started the podcast. Like when I was in like 2020, I had like 40 subscribers because I'd have on Air Force guys. Because
Yeah.
I think Air Force technology is like, and it's like, and as the show's gotten bigger, obviously you get accused more and more of being a Fed, which has also made me sort of reel back my own accusations of calling people feds because I see it on the back end now. I'm like, what are you talking about? And so people that think there's like Machiavellian orchestrating, it's just like, well, let's show them how the
Uh,
sausage is made. Why are we doing this show today? Well, I was sitting by my gaming computer a month ago, and I was just hopping on Rumble, uploading the game stream, just gonna do a flight sim. And I just on the front page was just you smiling, and so I just took a picture, and I think I said in chat, I was like OnlyFans for Adam, and then just like that's the show. So if people wonder
yeah.
like, what's the Machiavellian, it's that I saw your face and said LOL and texted you. Like so, Adam, tell everybody who you are real quick.
Yeah. So my name's Adam DeRito. Currently, I'm a captain in the Army Reserve in Civil Affairs. I'm an oil and gas worker. I'm a substitute Catholic school teacher up here in Greeley. And I'm currently running to be your next congressman in Congressional District 8 in Colorado to replace the incumbent Gabe Evans. So I'm just a normal blue collar guy. I was born in New York. I grew up in New Jersey. I saw the towers get hit. I lost family, and that's why I joined the military. Went out to the Air Force Academy. Long story short, I got into a big fight with the general staff down there for covering up rape and sexual assault. Even me being involved in sexual assault at the time, I got drugged and raped at a party. So I got heavily involved in working undercover for OSI when I was there. So basically, when the general staff found out that I was working for OSI and doing these things, 30 days after graduation, they pulled my degree, they pulled my commission, they trashed my reputation, tried to destroy my life to try to cover up for this Division I football team scandal. But at the end of the day, I won. They tried falsifying my records and all this crazy stuff, but I won my court case and I got commissioned as an officer. And I'm proudly serving. So if anyone who has experience in fighting the most intricate, deep, corrupt levels of our government for over 15 years, it's probably me. And that's why I think I'll be a great fit for Congress, is because I've already dealt with the system for almost 2 decades now. I'm not a freshman in this aspect, and I'm just trying to change the system and save our jobs and save where I live, man. I mean, I've been out here for 20 years now, and it's sad how many jobs we've lost and how many people are struggling out here. And I just had enough of it. I asked these politicians to do their job, and they won't. So it's time to relieve them of command.
And you always have to make sure I say this because I believe you're active duty or everything on the show. I speak for myself, not
Oh
Adam.
yeah,
Every once
nothing
in a
I
while,
say.
I just have to remember that. I have a lot of ex guys who don't care, but every once in a while, I don't want to,
Yeah, nothing I say represents the Department of Defense slash War and or the United States Army. So,
That being said, but wait, and as somebody with a biology degree, you have to excuse my lack of knowledge in any of this. But
mhm.
you were in the Air Force. OSI is the Air Force, right? It's the
Yep, it's
you
the
know
Office
that
of Special
everyone
Investigations.
in the Air Force, they talk about them, jokingly or not, as the Gestapo, like of the
They
Air
are.
Force Gestapo. It's just, and you need it, you got it, whatever. But you were in the Air Force working
Mhm.
with OSI, and then people in the Air Force got mad you were working for OS. Does OSI not is are they not able to like backhand general staff and be like, no, he's with us?
Well, the funny thing is they did. They even wrote a letter. It's even published on my website, like them supporting me going into my involuntary disenrollment hearing, like after graduation. And one of the guys got sent to Kazakhstan. The other guy got sent to FE Warren, and then the OSI detachment got disbanded for several years because the operation became known as Operation Gridiron. So I eventually started that program with the OSI agents in like 2008, 2009. And then it just ramped up into this much bigger machine years later. Like it was going on for almost 4 years, even 2 years after I left the academy in 2012. And then by the time all of it got exposed, it was a huge embarrassment. It was a huge black eye to the academy that there was all these multiple undercover informants. It wasn't just me. There was other people involved in it. And the academy, traditionally, what it does, it just makes things go away. They've had major scandals at that institution since like 2003, at least on the record side of it. And they've never been able to resolve any of them. And they keep letting these kids serve. And, when I was there, out of the 30 people we were investigating at the time, only 2 of them ever got charged and convicted. That's it. Just
What
2. And
what
the other
all
28 of them are still serving or out now. So.
and my show has virtually no structures. You can take it any way you want. What all was the because I get it's not right, but right doesn't surprise me. An institution protects itself. You insert institution here, it's going to
Mhm.
protect itself. What all was it? Was sexual assault,
Yeah, mostly sexual assault and drug trafficking. There was the spice epidemic when I was there. That was like a big deal. It was before you could pick it up on drug tests.
the fake
So
weed.
a lot of the kids were out getting high, driving them in their parents' cars because some of their parents out there are officers, so they never gate checked their vehicles and never searched their vehicles. So there was a big problem in between 2008 and 2010 when I was there for sure. And how they picked me up to do this. And I agreed to it. Like I was a firefighter, I was an EMT before I even went to the Air Force Academy. So I had an interesting amount of life experience before I even joined the military. And then when I went to the Air Force Academy, for me, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I convinced myself I was just going to go be a Marine at the time too. So all my friends are fighting in Afghanistan. Like, when are you coming over, bro? And I'm sitting there trying to figure out Calculus 2 homework, going like, when is this ever going to end? So I did the Marine Cross Commissioning Program while I was at the Air Force Academy too. So I think I'm the only person in my class who has completed 3 commissioning programs at this point, like Air Force, Marine Corps, and Army. So,
So, in terms of just kind of the topic is as a broad thing, corruption, and I think I used this
mhm,
analogy yesterday. I'm gonna beat it to death. Anyone that watches this show knows 2020, 2020. I have a biology degree. I got accepted to medical school. I got accepted to pharmacy school. I decided not to go. Always had a love for this stuff. 2020, 2021 podcast, I was still doing it. I was living above my parents' garage, and then COVID vaccine and blah, blah, blah. And I had hindsight's 2020, but just let's go back to there, and no one knows anything about what's coming. And I was just kind of I was kind of weirded out by how militant everyone's support or even the resistance against it. I was like, this is odd. Well,
mhm,
I have a podcast with a whopping 200 subscribers, so I just started getting doctors on. They were all kind of middle of the road. If you're older, maybe helps. Younger, not. And as I kept doing these, like the comments would get more vitriolic on both sides,
mhm.
and I got these like strikes from YouTube, and I'm a babe in the woods, and I'm like, well,
Right.
in my mind, I'm like, well, let's just go to the top. So I went to the very top I could find because the main issue with the vaccine was heart problems, and then so I got the guy who invented it, Dr. Robert Malone, mRNA patents, and I
Yep.
got the most published cardiologist in world history, Dr. Peter McCullough. I had them both on a year before they went on Rogan. When they did go on Rogan, if I can pat myself on the back, they were his number one and number two biggest episodes of all time. Those have since been replaced by Trump, but I had them on, and in my mind, I was just like, "Whoa, we're just gonna get to the bottom of it.
Right.
What is going on?" Those two doctors have since become so much more militantly against it. At the time, they were still pretty like, if you're younger, probably don't need it. It is new. It was rushed. But if you're older, and then I got banned from YouTube and iTunes and Facebook and Twitter, and I think I was banned from Twitch. I've never even used Twitch. My point is I went in there so naively thinking if you just did the right thing and then
Yeah.
if there was resistance, you then brought the receipts that most people would go, yeah, I get it. Now I look back and, I'm like emailing YouTube. I'm like, no, 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 you have to understand. Here's this doctor. Now I look back, years later, it's like, yeah, the CDC and the FDA had backdoor portals through YouTube telling them. And I'm like, oh, okay. As a broad theme, sexual assault, drug trafficking, vaccines, free speech, whatever.
Mhm.
That has opened my eyes in more ways than not. And then on a long enough timeline, it didn't look good for a year or 2 or 3 after it. On a long enough timeline, it ended up working to my benefit. I'm back on YouTube. I have street cred with a ton of professionals for not bending the knee. My conscience was clear. I feel like I did the right thing and, and blah, blah, blah. How does is that similar or not at all related to you in that, dude, the naivety, the push through it, and then the sort of silver lining that, oh, you can kind of win, or at the very least, not be completely curb stomped. Is it any of that near the truth for you, or
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would agree. When I was younger and I was at the academy, like I said, dude, I've been wearing a uniform since I was 12. Like I joined the Civil Air Patrol like when I was
yeah,
12, right? And
yeah,
I just wanted to be a community servant, like firefighter,
yeah,
EMT, search and rescue, like just try and do the right thing,
yeah,
right? And when I come out to the academy, you figure that that's like a step above of the community service I was doing on the East Coast, right? Like I'm gonna do this even harder.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I'm gonna be Captain America, like literally, like that's like my favorite superhero, right? So then you go to the academy. And then you realize how broken the system is and how much those kids are not prepared to serve this country. And when I was there, it was just a completely different ballgame, man. And I was naive, and I thought I was doing the right thing. And I thought like we were trying to do this to get the bad criminals out of the Air Force Academy. I didn't understand the money laundering with the football team. I didn't understand how corrupt the NCAA Division One sports football team was. I didn't understand that the general officers and the coaches are the highest paid DoD civilians in the country. Is the Air Force Academy football coach? Crazy, like over $865,000 a year salary for a mediocre Division One team,
I
right?
mean, I
I,
went to
I
I
didn't.
went to UGA. I mean, you look at the football coach. The football coach made more per year than the entire pre-med division received in
Yeah.
funding.
Yeah.
Like,
So I didn't understand that. And honestly, people are like, well, if you just kept your mouth shut and didn't participate in this, you would have been fine and been flying jets right now. I'm like, yeah, correct. I would. But like, from a moral, ethical standpoint, could I sit there and watch this happen? Especially like when that situation happened to me. Um, it just blew my mind that this is not the place of integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do, like all the stuff they preach to you in basic training and everything else. And it's just it's a small club. And if you're not part of that club, if you're going to ruin the club and break the club, so to speak, they will remove you from that club, like you're persona non grata, so to speak, right? And this is the problem that I've seen even throughout the recent Trump administration is that the establishment and the people that control these systems will do whatever it takes to protect themselves. They will do whatever it takes. I mean, like they literally destroyed my life for over a decade. I mean, they put me in so much debt, garnishing my wages, calling me the worst things possible on the internet, saying I was basically a pedophile. Like it was crazy. But then I tried suing them for slander and libel for saying this stuff. You know what? You know what's funny, Tommy? You can't sue the government for slander or libel. So you could say whatever you want about somebody. And like I said, you Google my court case against the Air Force Academy, and the first thing that comes up is DeRito was involved with a 13-year-old. Like what are you talking about? That is not what happened during our criminal investigations, right? But they got away with it because they can say whatever they want about you. And that still follows me to this day, even though I have no criminal background. I've never been arrested. I've never been in jail. I have a top secret security clearance, and I'm still working for the government. But when you go against some of the most powerful entities in this country, like for me, it was the Department of the Air Force and the Department of Defense at the time, like they will do whatever it takes to shut you up. And I decided I had enough of it. And I first started podcasting with the Dark Saber podcast, and I interviewed over 100 cadets and faculty members and stuff of cadets over the last couple years. This stuff is still going on, Tommy. It hasn't gone away. If you go against the Air Force Academy or the military in general, I've interviewed kids from West Point, Annapolis, Coast Guard Academy, all the federal service academies. What they do was, and this is what they did to me, is if you go against the system, what they do is they falsify your mental health records and they say that you're crazy. And the way
it's
they
the
get away
easiest.
with it,
Yeah.
it's the easiest thing to do because you have to prove that you're not crazy. And good luck. Good luck. I spent over $250,000 of my own money proving them wrong just to get my life back when most kids just go live in their parents' basement and give up and quit. And unfortunately, I've lost several cadets over the years from suicide. They took their own lives over this stuff because they literally just couldn't take it anymore. Most recently, just happened a few months ago. I lost a cadet, Christian Toledo, and it's horrible the way the academies treat these kids when you got to understand, man, your brain's not fully formed between the ages of 18 and 22 years old, man. Everyone at the academies is trying to hook up and hang out and drink beer and do whatever. It's college kids. Never mind you putting it into a small area. So that being 20 years removed from it now, I understand it better. But I decided I needed to change this. Like there is nothing in the Uniform Code of Military Justice that states it is illegal for a commander to use a command-directed evaluation to falsify mental health records in retaliation for reporting sexual assault or harassment. So that's how I got involved in politics. Over 10 years ago, I decided I was going to go fight this. I did a combat deployment overseas. I came back. And I said, well, the only thing that's stopping me from getting justice in my case is this one line in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So I started the Military Mental Health Justice and Protection Act. And basically, it's a one liner in the UCMJ that we can pass in the National Defense Authorization Act that states it is illegal for any commander, DoD civilian employee, NCO, or service member to falsify mental health records utilizing a command directed evaluation for reporting sexual assault, harassment, or misconduct. That's it. That's the only bill I've been trying to push for over 7 years now. And I came back from my deployment. I went to Washington, D.C. I started knocking on doors, started really ruffling some feathers, got all these people to get on board with it. And the only thing I needed was a bill champion in the state of Colorado, right? Because I'm from Colorado right now. So it's like, hey, we need one guy that's going to sponsor this bill. And then we have all these co-sponsors, Democrats, Republicans, all spun up around the country to help you. I'm like, great. Built some great relationships, got some great phone numbers for some really cool people in Congress, right? I couldn't get a single person to do anything in this state. Not Doug Lamborn, not Lauren Boebert, not Ken Buck, Gabe Evans, Jeff Hurd, Jeff Crank, and even the Democrats, Joe Nagise, Diana DeGette, Jason Crow, none of them. And then you ask yourself, why?
Why?
Why are they doing this? Then I come to find out that Michael Bennett sits on the board of visitors for the United States Air Force Academy, right?
Say that again. The board of what?
The Board of Visitors. So the Board of Visitors is the civilian controlling element of the federal service academies in each respective state. Actually, Charlie Kirk, before he was assassinated, was appointed by President Trump to be on the Board of Visitors for the Air Force Academy to try to fix that place, right? And like I'm like, oh, we have an in now. We're actually going to change some stuff. And then he got assassinated, and then like things go into the woodwork, and people just disappear and then scurry into their holes again, right? And it is absolutely tragic that it's like if I'm a constituent and I'm flying out to DC and I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars of my own money to lobby with these groups and work with all these high level individuals to get one line changed in the Uniform Code of Military Justice that will help tens of thousands of service members, and then they say no, why? And then you come to find out that like no one's going to go against the Air Force Academy in the state of Colorado. And then they all complain like, "Oh, well now they're going to move Space Force to Alabama." I don't want more service members in this state if you can't take care of the ones that are here now. We got like major military bases in the state, and I get phone calls all the time from vets and people in this state that are pleading for help or some kind of email access to someone up high because not a single congressman or congresswoman in the state is doing anything. And that's what inspired me to run. I sat there and said, it's been 15 years. I've played the game. I went to every service connected person. I went to every congressman, every senator, deployed after January 6th, per Michael Bennett and Jason Crow. Like, went out there and did everything I have been asked to do. And not only that, still honorably serving as an officer in the United States Army. And they won't do anything to help these people or myself. So I said, I guess I might as well just do it myself. And that's why I decided to run for Congress, is because enough is enough. If they're not doing anything for me or the people I work with, and we're the ones in DC doing these things, then you can bet your bottom dollar that they're not doing anything for anybody else.
Um, what I've found just in the life of the podcast, which is the only thing maybe even remotely comparable to because everything else, working out or getting into med school, that's difficult in its own right, but
Hmm.
it's difficult in the way working out is difficult. You just got to go through whatever. In terms of being at the helm of this podcast, and there's no one to it's easier to, you have a 9 to 5 job, you don't make as much, but you don't on Friday, you stop thinking about it, you don't care.
Right.
That's the CEO's problem. It's above your pay grade, right? And being in the seat, I'm like, oh, I actually have to guide this. I have to decide what are my moral like bylaws. What am I willing to do? Not what is
Hmm.
legal. What am I willing to do? What am I willing to sack? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, you go through those several periods of like, well, so the first thing you always see it is like, here's an example. Like yesterday was coming out that China's new embassy in London is
Hmm.
right next to GCH or yeah GCHQ, and the actual separation of is less than 1 meter. So in terms of just like Elint, Sigyn, Tempest, total, the
They're,
easiest.
they're all their brains are going to get fried from the amount of electromagnetic it's espionage going on.
And the main response to this is how stupid can you be? Hey guys, I get it. Hey, government's retarded. That's not stupidity. That's malicious competence.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best case, let's say it's not malicious competence. You then it's cowardice. So the first is you go, you're stupid, and there might be some stupid people that actually don't think there's anything wrong with that. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Then there is just last week, Aldrich Ames died. Top CIA guy, completely fucked us with the Soviets. Richard Hansen, the FBI guy that was giving everything to the Soviets. Okay, no, that exists, right? Benedict Arnolds are real. Okay, but then there's a third, and it's almost even worse. Stupidity you can maybe kind of fix because if they're too stupid to do something, that means they're also too stupid to like, you can corral them somewhere else. Treason, traitor, that's very dangerous because they're obviously working to undermine you from within.
Hmm.
The third, I think, is almost worse because it's cowardice. They're not stupid enough that they don't see what's
100%.
wrong with it. They know that it was probably intentional, and they're going, man, the last guy to, let's just make it up. The last guy to come out against the Chinese embassy and lost his job. He was disbanded, sent to Kazakhstan. I'm not going to do anything. And that is the worst part. So when you're talking about, well, how could these people be against the whole, you cannot use a mental evaluation falsely to, change it to shut down opposition.
Hmm.
Some people might actually be retarded and be like, well, they wouldn't change it. Okay, that person's stupid. They're too stupid to know that. God bless. Maliciousness would be they're in on it. They've gained directly from it.
Yep.
And then the third is, I would say, almost worse. You talk to all these people, well, how come they're not doing anything? They might know it's there and they might know it's a weapon used by the state to bludgeon people. And they go, yeah, I ain't doing anything. I got this far. I'm not going to say. To me, that is so much worse
I
than,
agree with you.
and so how much worse can you be? Well, I think treason is punishable by death. Like I'm not legally, I'm not calling for violence. I mean, like, how much worse can you be? It's a 1 megaton warhead worse than a 500 kiloton warhead? Yeah, but I mean, come
They're
on.
both nukes.
You're,
I mean, and you actually bring up a really good point
but
about this.
so that's my point is when you go through all of this, you then eventually it hits you. You go, no one's doing it, and then that's when you hear God kind of whispering in your ear and being like, you're seeing that nothing's being done, that people do know.
Yeah, if
You're
not me,
here.
then who?
And then
Right?
you go, and then you can drag your feet for a while, and eventually you go, okay, let's do it. And God has your back. That's
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, like that's what I say is like, who will go send me at this point? Because
it'll
no
be a Lord.
one, no one has ever gotten that high with the Federal Service Academy in court. I was one court below the Supreme Court in my case. I was at the 10th District Court of Appeals.
Gangster.
And they came back and ruled, we're going to dismiss this without prejudice now, even though we agree that your constitutional rights were violated. But under Parker versus Levy, the military is a separate society and should be treated as such, and therefore this court cannot tell the military what to do.
Cowardice.
The military's become the fourth branch of government, right? And they just regurgitated all the horrible things the Air Force Academy said about me that aren't accurate. And for me, watching these kids take their own lives over the last 10, 15 years, and what breaks my heart even more is I had some pretty good friends at the Air Force Academy. Guys that I've stayed in contact with for over a decade now. None of them would ever come on my podcast. None of them would ever speak publicly because they're like, DeRito, look what they did to you. I can't afford to do that. I'm not losing my pilot's license. I'm not losing my income because if I go speak out against the Air Force Academy, they're going to destroy my life like they destroyed yours. Like all power to you, bro. You're an amazing guy. You're the one taking this on by the face, but look what they did to you, man. They destroyed your life. They destroyed your reputation or tried to anyway. I mean, I'm still standing. I'm good now. I'm fine. I don't care what people say about me because it's not true. But it's like, if I'm going to be the only one to do this, then what does that say about the members of Congress as well? Right? We have this big image that these members of Congress in the Senate are these big, powerful people. And I will tell you, after interacting with over probably 200 of them at this point, they're just normal people. And 80% of the time, they have no idea what's going on. It's mostly their staffers running everything, right? It's these young kids with ChatGPT and their skinny jeans and their Nike Tech telling them what they have to do every day or what's the most important thing going on in their district. But like There's a few exceptions to that. Like I will say, I've met some really amazing senators and I've met some really amazing congressmen
Sure.
who are very smart and intelligent. But there's not a lot. There's just not a lot of them, and like they could never have a conversation like this, like you and I are having. Like if their brain is programmed to do 2 second, sound bites, and that's it, and they can't do anything above that. Then their staffer just cuts them off in the hallway and tells them to keep walking, right? But if this is the type of people that we have running our government currently, there is no way that Trump is going to be able to initiate all the good things he's trying to change in the government without people like me in office. And that's why I decided to run now is like if I can be the congressman of Colorado, literally, because no one else is responding, and we could set the precedent that people our age, like the millennial generation and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are ready to take over and start pushing these things. Because look, man, I am sick and tired of listening to people that sent me to war for 20 years say they still have the best ideas in the government. You know what I mean? They killed 6 of my friends, man, and they sent us over there. And for what? It didn't do anything. It didn't change anything, right? But they all profited off of it. They all made their millions and billions of dollars. They all solidified themselves in defense contract. Another thing, like I think I told you this last time on Joe's show, I was over there when Ukraine got invaded. I was over there a couple weeks right before because we left the country 2 weeks before October 7th happened, and we all knew it was going to happen. I worked in intelligence, dude. We saw it coming. Anyway, if people think they understand what's going on in Ukraine, it's not accurate. I can't really talk about it, obviously, but it's not what you think it is, right? But this is being orchestrated by people that have run our government for decades, and people our age are tired of it, man. It's every 5 seconds they want to loop themselves into something more, complicated and more lucrative, and the stock market's crashing. I mean, look, heck, just follow Nancy Pelosi's stock trading. It's like, it's not that hard, man. But you see what's going on now, like with Venezuela. I mean, that was a perfect military executed operation. That's the way it should be. We
That's
go in there. We
that's
go in
all
there.
9/11. We should have done that on 9/12.
We could have, and that's the worst
And
part.
that's it.
We could have. In
Yeah.
Tora Bora, we had him. And the funny thing is, I actually know some of the guys that were in Operation Jawbreaker. I know some of the CIA ground officers,
So,
and
I know that, and then I also had on Toby Harnden, the author that wrote
mhm.
First Casualty. But yeah, no, Dale Comstock and these are all guys we've talked about. Ron Moeller, he was head of
Yeah,
CIA Air Branch. Dale Ground Branch. Rick Prado, Basil Baz, Joe Ted, all these Keith Rose.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
We can do that. It's just that we put our military on a leash and then we drag things out as long as possible to make it profitable to the politicians. And like we just proved that we can take you out of your bed in your pajamas in less than 4 hours and be done with the conflict.
and what do these three, Congress, running for this, rape, vaccines, Tora Bora, Venezuela, if we didn't do it, you're stupid, or you are maliciously competent and you're a traitor, or you're intelligent and a coward. There
Yeah.
is no, there
And
is
I would
no
say
other.
there's a lot of cowards, man. I think with the list you just gave, my experience in the last 10 to 15 years with dealing with the federal government and in Washington, D.C., is we have cowards who are unwilling to act. You
That's
know,
the populace at large.
you know what the right thing is to do.
Yeah.
And you are capable of doing it, but you refuse to because you don't have any moral or ethical values. And this is the issue I run to running for Congress right now. I am a highly moral, ethical person. I've been through the ringer, man. I mean, I had to learn how to carry my own cross and really humble myself and learn how to let it go and let God guide your life. And that's a hard thing to do.
It is.
That is a very, very hard thing to do. Learning absolute surrender. It
Dude,
really is.
I've been praying and I've been meditating every day. Sorry to interrupt. I've been
No.
meditating every day since 2008. I've been working out every day since 2002. I've been praying. I came back to Christ in 2020. When I mean recently, I mean like maybe last 10 days. I'm slowly getting to the point of you have to row, but God will guide the boat. Be not afraid. It's gonna hurt, but be not afraid. I'm just now like in the last 0.1% of my life reaching a point of going, okay, God's got it. But sorry, keep
But
going.
but you understand, like you understand that point when it clicked, right? Like for
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
for me,
okay.
it was I write about it in my book. So I wrote this book called The Guy in the Yellow Tie. I'm waiting for permission to publish it from the DoD. I'll definitely have to send you a copy when they give me
Please do.
authorization to do it. Um, my point when I absolutely broke and lost everything, well, I came back from deployment and I had to get a divorce because, I was with that woman for 10 years and she decided to make some decisions when I was gone.
Sure.
I'll leave it at that because it's,
Sure.
it's not fair if she's not here to defend herself, right? But like it absolutely broke me down to nothing. And
Yeah.
I had to get double leg surgery when I came back. I got kind of messed up when I was overseas. I thought it was a good idea to jump off a Hemet vehicle in full kit. Shredded my Achilles tendons, like not a good deal. I was walking like a penguin. So basically, I'm hopped up on drugs by myself with my dog, and it took a year to recover from that so I could run again or even walk again. And going through a divorce from someone that you spent a decade of your life with, who, to be fair, she supported me throughout this entire academy case, and she was there for me for a lot of it. And it was tough. Like it financially ruined part of our lives. And we both worked in the oil field. Like we made good money. And that's one of the reasons I got into the oil field. Is the only thing that could pay my $10,000 a month legal fees to go through this stuff for a decade. You know what I mean? Like crazy. I mean, I could have bought a Lamborghini at this point with
Twice
the amount of
over.
money I've spent, but I don't. I live in a 1,300 square foot house I built by myself, and live on a small farm. But I work with all these farmers and ranchers and oil and gas guys, and honestly, it's like you ever see the show Landman? Uh, yeah, the
I
show's
don't
pretty.
watch anything.
Yeah,
I live under a rock.
yeah, the show's pretty accurate to how West Texas is in the oil field. Minus, there's no attractive women in West Texas. That's the only inaccuracy. But other than that, like that's the life I lived, man. In and out of man camps, things getting blown up, guys getting killed, run over by forklifts, crushed by drilling pipe. But that's what I had to do. I thought I was going to be an airline pilot, and that wasn't the path that God had for me. And just when I thought things were getting better, then He just took everything away from me again. But then He opened up this door to me into politics, which was completely unexpected. There's no way you could ask me 5 years ago if I'd be where I am right now, running for Congress. And I sat there and just went, if this is the opportunity I'm being given right now to truly make a difference, then I'm going to take it because I don't want to be the coward like my so-called friends from the academy were, where they just did nothing. I am so sick and tired of these politicians in the state watching us lose our oil and gas jobs because of BS environmental regulations that they don't understand. I just went to a meeting last week where the ranchers out here have lost 58,000 head of cattle this year because they've gotten stolen by cattle rustlers. That's millions of dollars for these family farms and ranching industries, and not a single politician showed up to that meeting. Not a single one, not even the locals. So it's like, but I live with these people. I live out here with them. I think they're amazing people. They're amazing families, but we're losing our livelihoods. And when I sat there and went, if they're not going to stand up for me and I'm the one in DC, then they're definitely not standing up for these people over here. And that's what inspired me to run. This is a complete act of service. I am not doing this for myself. I don't care what they want to say about me, but man, the people that come out of the woodwork to try to attack you on this stuff, it's insane. And I'm sure you're seeing that with your counterpart right now that he's running for governor. It's like people do not like it when actual moral, ethical people run for political office because they want to spot at the Smoky Cigar Lounge. They want their part at insider trading. They just want to go along to get along to give this image. No, I actually want to make changes and save our jobs and save our livelihoods. That's the difference between me and my opponent. My opponent was a cop for 12 years. So what? You're talking about that you're qualified to be in office because of something you did over a decade ago? I'm still serving. I'm still in the military. I'll be like the next Tulsi Gabbard because Tulsi Gabbard's still lieutenant colonel and still serving in the government. The only other one I think of that was Sean Spicer when he was doing the stuff for the White House, right? He was still in the Navy at the time. But I've given my entire life to this country since I was 12, basically. And I don't want to stop it now. And I want to be able to bring America back to the way it used to be. And we just need more moral, ethical people in Congress who aren't cowards, who actually just want to do the right thing.
In terms of like, yeah, God showing you the new thing you're supposed to, it always starts with like, I don't want to do that.
Yep.
Hey God, I know you're all knowing that's a bad idea. And you don't know that. Let me teach, sit down, sir.
The
Yeah,
exact
no,
conversation I had with
oh yeah,
myself.
it's always like, hey, that's not what we're doing. And yeah, I mean, in terms of kind of, I graduated in 2013, legitimately was like 4% body fat, looked like Captain America, just got into medical school, had the hottest girlfriend. By the time I wasn't even religious, and I always say this to people on the podcast and make fun of me, I always just wanted one woman. I was voluntarily, probably the only vol cell, I was voluntarily a celibate until I was 23 because I hadn't met a woman I loved.
Hmm.
Man, I had it thrown at me though. Like I had no issue with women in college. I was not interested. And I was also a psychopath in studying, but like that's how dedicated I was. And a couple months after, I was having kind of cold feet about going to med school, and that's when my older brother committed suicide. And I just started dating this chick I loved, and then so I decided not to go to med school, decided not to go to pharmacy school, and she and I slowly went apart. And it's the same thing. And she's not here. I'm not gonna. I think she's an incredible human who stuck by me for 4 years after that. When I gained almost 70 pounds, addicted to benzos, drinking, smoking, cough
Yeah.
syrup, no job, overweight. It kind of sucks. And because she was sold Captain America who just got into med school. Yeah, that's a pretty easy sell. And then, and whatever. That was also 10 years ago. I don't judge her. She's an incredible person. Whatever. All fell apart. I moved home with my parents in 2016 because I was suicidal. They were up in Maryland. I had spent the last 20 years in Georgia, lost all of my friends. And then, for a couple of years was trying to start a graphic design thing and that didn't work. And just started the podcast. And then I immediately lost like 99% of the friends I had in college. Now that I'm
Yeah.
farther down the road, I also look back and go, you also just kind of grow apart after
You grow
college, and
apart.
it's
Yeah.
not personal. And so a lot of it I have to kind of revise and go, did I lose my friends or did they all stop talking to each? Probably that. But a lot of the stuff where I was like, hey man, this isn't right. And it was just, hey, Tommy, shut up. Yeah, dude, all of it. And you just keep going. And this is where it comes. And I wish I could say it's because I'm a noble warrior of God. I would say I believe in God, but I'm not. I'm an idiot and I'm a pussy. And what I have found though is, and I always joke, when I'm like, I'm 2 years sober and people are like, congrats. I'm like, no, no, no. I miss alcohol so much. I miss it. So I'm like, I miss drinking. I miss smoking. I miss getting fucked up and playing video games. I miss playing flight simulators, 10 shots. And I miss it. I can't do it. It messes with my brain, blah, blah, blah. So I look at that though and I go, God made it so that I couldn't consume alcohol for a reason. I don't know what that reason is now. 2 years later, I've lost a ton of weight. I'm happier, healthier, whatever. Eventually, you just have to go, God keeps pulling me through this. And I'm very honest. I wish I didn't care. I wish
Hmm.
I could go, COVID's not my problem. Keep it on YouTube. Grow up. You're an adult. Do the research on
Yeah.
your own. Stolen elections, not my problem. History's there. You saw what they did. If you don't believe the CIA still does stuff, that's on. I was at January 6th. FBI came to my house after. I had to spend what little money I had on a lawyer. All of these things. It would be so much easier to just go, yeah, what if I just don't care? But God made it so I have to care. And I
Hmm.
have to imagine that that is his gift to me. Because imagine if you didn't care and you're trying to do the right thing. That would be very hard. Versus God goes, no, you actually will not be able to sleep at night. You will toss and turn. You will hate every second of you. You can have the cigar. You can be in the lounge. You can be at the board table. 50, 60, 70 years old. You can make $100 million. You can have multiple homes. You can be buying off centers. You can have anything you want. No part of me would ever be able. I would just sit there and go, deep down inside, you know you're a bitch. You know that you saw evil and you did nothing. You know you did it. And that's kind of, and I think that it also comes into strong father figures. My dad
Hmm.
always just do the right, what the right thing is. And even up through the pod, even up to like yesterday, having emailing a guest, they were asking questions. They were very hesitant. And part of me thought about dancing around the truth. And I just went, as soon as I find myself asking myself, is this the wrong thing? I go, well, once you've started asking yourself, it's the wrong thing. And so that's kind of where I find some similarity with you is like, what the right thing to do is. And this is, and I'll stop rambling here. Here's the thing. And I had one of the ground branch guys tell me this. Sacrifice is transactional, but not in the time frame you want. Sometimes you do the right thing, you're rewarded.
It's a
A
very good
lot
thing.
of
That's a
people
very
get
good point.
a lot of people get shot in the face and
Yeah.
they die. You have to accept that dying is also part of God's plan. Because we have these qualifications of, no, I'm going to fight back against you. Adam's going to run for Congress. We're going to do all this and we're going to fix it. I hope I do. I would love to.
Sure.
Wait, wait,
Maybe.
wait, wait. We both got killed in God's infinite timeline. He would go, yeah, but that's part of my plan. And so
Yeah.
I have to make peace with, you have to go all the way to go. And I might one day open the door and just, and that's it. That too is God's plan. Yeah.
No, It is 100%. And this is like the biggest thing is I have a past, you have a past, but it also matters like, what are you doing now to better yourself and what are you doing to help your fellow humans? And that's why the biggest thing I always like to say is like, I don't judge people on their scarlet letter. I judge people on their scar tissue,
Sure.
right? I judge people on how you've recovered and what you're doing now as a man or a woman in society, right? Everyone's made mistakes. Everyone's done dumb things in their life, but like to purposely judge somebody on their past permanently for all eternity,
You can't.
that's not fair, and you can't do that. And like that's the biggest thing I deal with in politics now is just like, oh my God, when you were 19, you were an idiot. I'm like, yeah, correct. That is 100% correct. I'm also 38 and I'm a successful, man now. I've done great things for this country and helping other people. And this is why all I want to do is serve my community better than I can. It's constantly just trying to go up the ladder. People are like, oh, you have to run for city council or you have to be a county commissioner before you can run for office. No, you don't. You just fill out the form one, hit submit. And people are like astonished that I'm even doing this and I have no political experience. Like, damn straight, I don't have any political experience. I have no experience in raising your taxes. I have no experience in insider trading. I have no experience on you losing your jobs. I have no experience in ignoring your phone calls. Thank God. Thank God I'm walking into this with no experience in being the worst assets of society in politics. I literally just want to go and do the right thing. That's why so I have like 5 points of performance, as we say in the airborne, for my campaign. It's super easy. It's bold governance, American energy independence, American agriculture, veterans, and transparency. That's it. And what I mean by all that is like bold governance is like, yeah, we're going to end illegal immigration. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to pass these laws. We're going to actually do the things we're supposed to do. I'm going to fix the roads. Literally, that's my job. Are we going to agree on social issues? Probably not. I'm an unapologetic conservative Catholic. Good luck, right? But also, those issues have never been resolved in my 38 years of existence on this planet, right? So if you want to fight over abortion or you want to fight over guns and waste millions of dollars of your taxpayer dollars fighting on something we're never going to agree on, while you're complaining that the suspension on your truck just got ripped out on I-25, maybe we should focus on the things that government can actually have an effect on, such as critical infrastructure, illegal immigration, bringing back jobs, American energy independence is like the second thing. That's the biggest thing. Is like people in Colorado, we have no money anymore. We're $1.8 billion in debt. And they just want to take away Tabor, right? Your taxpayer Bill of Rights. They want to keep raising fees. Well, why don't we actually focus on pumping the money out of the ground and bringing back the industries? Every company I've worked for in oil and gas has gone out of business since I've been out here because of the environmental regulation. So I want to get rid of the RIN number mandatory identification. So the renewable identification numbers, I want to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure the refinery can produce its fuel and it's a piece of critical infrastructure. Without diesel fuel, jet fuel, and farm fuel, like nothing runs out here, right? But we want to convert everything to electricity because some guy on the Public Utilities Commission who has a degree in underwater basket weaving is making these decisions, right? Like we need to use Trump's emergency energy declaration to overrun all of these bad state policies that are affecting people. But nobody in Congress is doing that. But I know how to do that. And number three, American agriculture, right? Agriculture is one of the biggest industries next to oil and gas in the state of Colorado. Farmers, ranchers, corn, sales, alfalfa, everything. But they're limited because of some of these trade negotiations they're not allowed to participate in. They don't have mandatory country origin of labeling, so we are still importing Argentinian beef to a Brazilian slaughterhouse that runs the fourth largest cattle slaughtering operation in this country. Right. And we're hurting the American farmer and hurting the American taxpayer. And I want to bring back the Prime Act. I want to try to get that passed under some other politicians I've worked with, which allows for interstate slaughter so you can sell to your neighbors and sell to yourself and sell to local supermarkets and things like that. Right. We can't do that. That's un-American. It's un-American that you can't sell your own products from farm to table type stuff in your own state. Veterans. We have 35,000 veterans in District 8 who have to drive either an hour to Cheyenne or an hour to Denver to get medical treatment and there's like one small clinic here. I interviewed this guy, Casey West. You should go watch his podcast I did with him on Tuxes and Tomahawks. It's pretty cool. This guy's like in his 30s. He's got stage 4 glioblastoma brain cancer and he couldn't get into the VA fast enough. So he needed a community care exemption letter to go get cancer treatment and nobody would give it to him in the state. Not a single representative, Democrat or Republican. Like, what is wrong with you people? So we had to go to like Eli Crane in Arizona to go get him treatment in Texas. And he just had a baby. So we're like trying to make sure this guy can survive and help raise his kid. But I mean, if you can't even help veterans with brain cancer from shooting depleted uranium rounds at Haji and the country you sent them to go die in multiple times in combat deployments, like, what are we doing? That makes no sense. And then transparency. The biggest problem I see with congressmen out here and congresswomen, they don't answer the phone. They don't return emails. They're not taking care of constituent issues. People feel completely left out. And that's why I just want to be like, hey, if you call our number, you're going to get a response. I'm not going to spend my time in DC. I'll be there for the minimal amount of days a week I have to, but I'll be the airline pilot. I'll fly back every week if I can, if I'm allowed to, and make sure I'm interacting with my local delegations and local politicians and local constituents, and also just to hang out with my so-called future family. Like I don't want to be in DC all the time. I hate that place. Anyone who's been to DC for more than 5 minutes can't stand it, right? So that's my entire platform for my campaign, man. It's just do your job and just do it right.
In the brain cancer, it all comes down to, again, it's God just kind of cracking you over the head and being like, it's pretty bad, isn't it? How
Yeah.
you got to do something, and yeah, man, it sucks, and it's terrifying,
Hmm.
but I also don't think God put us here in an unwinnable situation, and I've never served in the military. The only thing I can maybe compare it to is pledging up a fraternity in 2009 in South Georgia, which is insane. And I look at that, they would give you gradual tasks that were more and more difficult, and the hazing would get worse, and they brainwash you, and you get to a point where you're like, even if you did do the study thing, you memorize whatever the credo or the brothers' names, and you're like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna got it, and then you go in there, and they go, all right, you have 30 seconds, and in your mind, you're like, even if you did, which I did, most kids didn't even do it. I was dumb enough to actually memorize like 90 names. And I was like, I can't write that in 30 seconds, and I read it, and I'm like, you go to them, you're like, hey, I knew it all. I just can't write in 30. They were like, well, everyone here, every brother here did it. Like, do, and you're like, fuck, okay. And you're like, all the, you have to get all these brothers, they have to sign your fraternity paddle. You have to go mow their lawn. Well, one guy said, be at my house at 1 a.m. to bring me to the bar. But the other guy said, I have to be at his house at 10. And they're like, well, figure it out and do it. We did it. And you're like, fuck. Okay. And the entire thing is, as you go farther and farther down the rabbit hole, you start to go, nothing we do is ever going to make them happy. The only thing you had, and they were your pledge brothers, is don't throw your P bro under the bus, meaning be like, I did it, but Cal didn't. And they're like, don't ever do that. Don't ever. And so you start to realize you go, I'll lie to these guys. I'll do anything I can. Like, these are my homies. Like, we're never going to, and what do you guys start to do? You start to congeal and you start to come together
Hmm.
as brothers. And then you get initiated, and then you become a brother and you start going, hey guys, some of those things like was impossible. Like writing 30, they're like, shit. It's the entire purpose is an unbeatable foe, and that forces you guys to come together. And 70, 80% of the people drop out, and you go, oh, and they go, there's nothing to fix. What are you talking about? Like you're not,
Right.
maybe okay, maybe we should watch the alcohol because kids do die. Like okay, noted. But like a lot of this, it's like, yeah, man, it's supposed to break you. There's no winning. Fixing it, there's nothing to fix. If you were to fix it, you'd ruin it because it would do nothing. You would just walk in. I
Yeah.
look at life a lot like that. After this, I go, hey God, I mean, it was me and a camera, and I was trying to take on like Pfizer. Like that was a little once, and you might be like, it's not broken. It made you who you're supposed to be. That some people criticize that line of thought and go, so you're just assuming it's all broken and there's nothing to do? Not at all. You're supposed to go through it, no matter how irrational it seems. You were supposed to go through it because if you view it only as pledgeship, yeah, it makes no sense. If you view it as the bigger picture after pledgeship, it's one semester. Then you have 7 semesters of being a brother, and it's great and it's fun and blah blah blah. Yeah, well, maybe in this 3 month life, it doesn't make any sense, but I don't know, in eternity, you go, oh, yeah, no, it's not broken. And that doesn't make any light of genocide, of rape, of child trafficking, of none of that makes it doesn't make any lightness of it.
Hmm.
But it helps me look at it and go, keep going forward. Like it's shitty for a reason. So
Yeah. If
that's
you're
how I
going through
stop
hell,
that.
keep going, right? That's what Winston
Yeah.
Churchill said, right? And that's the thing is, I need younger people to run for office. I tell people this. I'm like, yeah, I'm running. I'm considered young in politics at 38. But the thing is, if we don't do this, whether it's taking control of your county commissioner meetings or your local PCPs, your precinct committee persons, slash your district captains, your local GOP, whatever it is. If you don't start doing this now, this system is never going to change. And if we want to live in the America that we thought we were going to grow up in, you know, it's up to you. That's why I tell people you have two choices. You could be a resident or you could be a citizen. You could be a resident. You could take your kids to soccer practice. You could make dinner. You can complain on the internet all day. You can listen to your podcast and your radio shows and talk to your friends. But until you physically go after the points of power at these people's seats in their city council meetings and these boring 6:30 a.m. pancake breakfasts on a Wednesday where these old geriatrics are controlling every aspect of your life and you don't even know it, that's what it requires to be a citizen. You are supposed to sacrifice your time, your treasure, and your sacred honor in order to fight these people, just like our founding father said, right? If you are unwilling to do that, then you don't deserve to be an American. And I mean that full-heartedly. You know, this whole illegal immigration issue. You know, I understand, like, I live in a district where there's a lot of illegals who work on the farms and stuff. Some of that's not by their own fault. Some of them are filing for their seasonal work visas and they're just trying to do the right thing. They go back to Mexico for 6 months and they come back here for 6 months and work, right? But the problem is their paperwork's not getting processed fast enough. Okay, I can work with that. You are trying to do the right thing, but our own bureaucracy is preventing you from making sure your paperwork's legal from year to year. So let's bring in more federal resources. Let's make sure that we have more federal officers who can process that paperwork so you can do the right thing. But if you've been here for more than like 5 years and you still don't have your citizenship or you're not applying for paperwork anymore, it's time for you to go. If you're constantly taking advantage of the American taxpayer and you're just doing this and shipping your money home, like what's going on in Minneapolis and everywhere else, like you need to do the right thing. Heck, you could have joined the U.S. military. In 3 years, you'll have your citizenship, and then you'll really understand what it means to be American because you're sacrificing something for this country, right? So I hate the illegal immigrant argument when it's like, you ever see Saving Private Ryan? Do you remember that movie? Remember at the end when Captain Miller gets shot on the bridge? And he's sitting there and Private Ryan runs up to him. And the last thing he says to him is, earn this, right? Earn this. That's what those guys fought for. They fought through the most horrific conditions in the largest war in our modern history that we can comprehend. And those guys every day had to earn it, right? And he got to go home and he got to raise a family because he earned the right to do it. And that's what every American needs to get to, and that level of sacrifice. I'm not saying go join the military and go fight the Nazis in World War II, so to speak. But if you're not constantly earning it every day, whether that's taking care of your body, working out, right? Whether that's going to church, whether that's helping your neighbor, whether that's doing good at your job, whether it's taking care of your kids, being a good husband to your wife, and vice versa, abiding by the law, being a contributing member of society. If you're not earning this every day, we live in the greatest constitutional elected republic in the world. People don't understand that. I've spent plenty of time in third world countries where I come home and I salute my toilet because I have indoor plumbing and it works, right? You don't understand how bad it is outside the United States. And that's even in like Europe. Like I spent a whole month this last summer in Ireland, Scotland, and England, right? I was traveling around the country. I went to go see the Oasis reunion concert in Dublin, which was awesome. But then I was also doing like investigative journalism a little bit. I wrote a whole Substack on about my experience in the UK and in Ireland for a month. It's scary. They are losing everything over there. They're losing their culture because of this illegal immigration. They're destroying churches. They're destroying everything that makes those countries their individual cultures. And that stuff is going to come here, if not already, right? And Americans are so safe. They don't understand how good we have it. Like, we're separated by the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, man. We got to worry about the Canadians and the border of Mexico. Other than that, good luck. But over there, they just walk right across the River Thames, right? They walk right across the borders over there, and it's destroying everything those countries have spent thousands of years building, right? And I don't want to see that happen to America. But unless we have politicians like myself that can get elected into office to actually bring some common sense resolutions to this stuff versus fighting over the dumbest things possible, we're going to lose this country. We're going to lose it fast. And it is up to us as citizens to protect it at all costs.
It's I always bring up that point of like the Constitution's fantastic, blah blah blah, the economy, and then even if there wasn't the Constitution, there was the economy and the ability to own the natural resources here. Even
Yeah.
that already puts you in the apex of countries. Let's pretend there's no natural resources and there's no awesome constitution. Just as a land mass, you go, man, protected by two oceans, Arctic hellscape above. funnel point down below in South America.
In a wide open desert through Mexico and Arizona.
This is a solid place to defend.
Hmm.
Any one of those would be a gift. What any two of them?
Yeah.
We have a shitty geography, but we have a great constitution and great resources. That's pretty solid. What about great resources and great geography, but it's a dictatorship? You'd be like, well, it's still, at least they're never going to be invaded. To get all three, it's not that you rolled snake eyes, it's that you rolled three dice and got snake eyes. And it's all here, defended by oceans, full of natural resources, hellscape above and below, and you're armed to the teeth with an economy and at least an attempt, despite all of its flaws, and there are many, to have a society, even in image, to be based on you're allowed to say whatever you want and you can own a gun. You just, as in terms of like just in relation to all of human history, any one of those is a solid starting point. You have
Yeah.
three. You have to defend this. It
You
is your.
must.
It won't happen again. You have to. If you know all it, stupidity, malicious competence, or cowardice. Which one is it?
We're getting to the point where it's just cowardice. Like we are
Right.
becoming a society that's full of weak men, right? And I can say this, like I forget who wrote this on Twitter, but it really hit me really hard. So, some people say like, oh, when I immigrate here and I get my citizenship, I'm an American. Debatable. I have a bloodline that goes, I can trace my bloodline on my mother's side of the family back to like the 1200s, right? And my family was one of the original families on the Mayflower that settled this country, right? I am a direct descendant of Rebecca Nurse, who is the first woman executed in the Salem witch trials for being Catholic and refusing to admit that she was a witch, right? And that bloodline from the 1400s goes all the way through, and every male in my family has fought in every major conflict in this country since its existence when it was settled in the 1400s. From King Philip's War to the French and Indian Wars to the Revolutionary War to the Civil War, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Gulf War, and now me with the global war on terror, right? Every male on my mom's side of the family has fought in a lineage from when this country was founded, even before it was called the United States of America. And there's a few people like me. It's kind of funny. Like there's this Twitter thread on it of like, what does it mean to be an American? It's like, well, no, I'm an American. You may have earned your American citizenship, but my family's been here for hundreds of years. And I don't. People always say like, oh yeah, we're built by a country full of immigrants. No, we're not. We're built by a country full of settlers. We came to this country where there was nothing here, and we
Yeah.
built it from the ground up, and a lot of us died. And I'm one of the few generational bloodlines that survived it, which is crazy. Like, and I didn't believe it at first until my uncle was like, because he retired like 20 years ago, and he's been doing this deep dive genealogy, finding all the gravestones, tracing all the bloodlines, the birth certificates, and everything else. I'm like, holy crap! Like some of the war stories from the Civil War of like whatever my great ex grandfather, he joined the Union Army when he was 14 as a cavalryman, and then he got shot, hit in the head with a sword. Then he got taken prisoner down in Andersonville Prison, which was basically the Holocaust camp for the Union soldiers in the South. And then somehow they got scurvy, all this disease and stuff. They were all set there to die. And then he somehow survived. They dug a tunnel under the wall, and then they marched their asses all the way back to Gettysburg, then fought in Gettysburg, right? He got direct commissioned as an officer. By the time the Civil War ended, he was a major, right, for the Grand Union Army of New York. And when the Civil War ended, and this is also an interesting bloodline comparison. So after the war ended, that's when the Department of Veteran Affairs started pretty much, and they were all owed their $1.80 a month pension, right? And the government was broke and had no money. So my great grandfather, who was a Union officer, led the first insurrection into D.C. and fought the National Guard at the White House in order to get their $1.80 a month pension. And I find that story really funny because I think I'm the only one that I know of, bloodline wise, where I was also deployed as part of the National Guard for the only second insurrection in American history where the National Guard was called to defend DC. And I find that historical connection really interesting, where my great grandfather was one of the officers who led the first insurrection against DC against the Guard, and then I was part of the Guard on the second insurrection against DC. In the 2000s. I just find that I'm a history nerd.
That's
I find that stuff
awesome.
so fascinating. But this country means so much to me and my family from we've been here for hundreds of years, right? And I love people that want to come here and they want to become an American and they want to earn their citizenship. But You have to earn it, man. It can't just be given to you. We can't be granting full asylum to people. We can't just be giving away things for free. The men that built this country and the women who built this country sacrificed everything to make sure that it is what it is today. And we can't just be giving it away to people who have never earned it. And you got to earn it.
And we'll wrap up in a minute because I got another show coming. But I was gonna say is, and I have two friends who are immigrants, Ivan and Prince. I met Ivan in 2011 working at a bar over the summer in Maryland. Barely spoke a lick of English. Dude was working like 18-hour days, had his green card, became a physical therapist. Finally got a citizenship, moved here a couple of years ago. He's already won like several bodybuilding championships out in Vegas, and he
Mhm.
is you every day as you obnoxiously American every day. And
I love that.
he just and
I
the
love that.
American flag bandana is just getting on Facebook, and it'll be like, no illegal immigrants, stupid fuck, and you're like that. And then Prince, who he came from Kosovo, and he same thing, barely a lick of English, finally got here. He became a physical therapist in New York, settled down, married. I think he has a kid now. Also has a an Italian restaurant in Texas, as well as a like a third party DHL type shipping company in Florida. Same. You talk to him. I've had him on the show. It's you almost think it's a meme. He's got the little American flags and stuff. And you look at that and you go, that's someone who wants to be here and just wants this more than anyone. And it's
Because
like,
they earned it, right? They
yes.
earned their right to do
They
it. They
worked
weren't
here
just handed
shitty
it to them.
summer after summer after. I used to,
Yep.
my mom, I was all 21 and my mom would like give me a lunch or something. I'd bring Prince an apple and he would be like, you order my brother now. I'd be like, bro, it's an apple. And like, he came to my parents' house and he was posing for pictures in front of the full refrigerator so he could post it on Instagram to flex on his Kosovo friends. And I was like, damn. He was doing like he was doing like flex videos like the same
Yeah.
way like you would in front of a Lambo in front of like my parents' garage because I had two cars. And he'd be like
Yeah.
America pimp. And I was like, wow,
And
that's
and those are the people that I want to come here and become
love
American
and
citizens.
they're
Is the
incredible.
people that
Yes.
earn it, not just giving things away for the sake of, well, we're just going to be compassionate. Because I think, as a final point to this, we need to stop being suicidal empathists,
Correct.
right? We are just giving everything away. It's like the giving tree from Shel Silverstein. By the time it's over, everything's cut down to a stump, and you got nowhere to even sit,
Yeah.
right? And that's the problem with a lot of the liberal mentality here. Is, hey, look, I understand what you're American citizens too. I have to respect your rights, but you don't understand what it's taken to defend this, right? And if you just keep giving everything away and giving everything to everyone in this country, it's never going to be enough. They'll deplete this entire country of resources and still try to wringing water from a rock, right? You have to earn your right to be a citizen here. I encourage everyone to come here the legal and right way, but there has to be a line in the sand. And like I said, this is why I'm running for Congress, is that like I'm bold, proven, and principled, man. I am not afraid of these people. I've fought the government for 15 years and won, and proven that anyone can do this if you stick to your guns. And I'm an ethical and moral person. I'm never going to backtrack on immoral things. We just need normal people to run for office and do the right thing. And I appreciate you for letting me come on the show and
Hey man.
talk about my candidacy and talk about these things. But for everyone out there, just go to adam.dorito2010 on Instagram. That's my Instagram. You can look up Adam Dorito on X, and then Dorito for Congress, DERITO for Congress.com is where you can go and support me and give me all your money, because I am not supported by PACs. I am not supported by anyone other than myself and the people who believe in me. So I'd appreciate your support in beating these incumbents who do absolutely nothing for your country except steal your money.
If you could copy and paste those links and text them to me, I'll put them right in the description. I was going to say, and
Yeah.
lastly, we've had an in-depth conversation, and if you're just looking at all this, it seems like it's a Herculean task, and I think it's important with myself and with yours. Like in hindsight, yes, it is this massively complex life task, but it didn't start that way. It starts, and this is what I'd say to people: pray, ask God to show you the way, even if you're an atheist. Don't have to tell anyone. You can just say in the quiet of your own mind, you'd be like, hey, God, come into my heart. That's what brought me back to Christ, was Charlie Duke, Apollo 16 guy, walked on the moon, one of three men alive. That's what he told me, which was kind of wild for like a 90-year-old conservative guy to be that aware of like my generation. He goes, you don't have to come out and say it, because your atheist friends are going to make fun of you. He's like, just say it quietly. Say, God, if you're there, please come into my heart. It's that
Yeah.
simple. You don't have to tell anyone. They're gonna make fun of you. And I did, and my life's been much better. So that's what I tell people is Ask God to come, and you don't have to tell anyone. Ask God to come into your heart in whatever way He does, and just ask for guidance. And hey, man, your guidance might be God just goes, hey, lose a couple pounds, live longer. You're gonna be a great grandfather one day. You can't see it yet, but I can see the future. You're gonna be a great. It might be that. It might be that. Might be God says, hey, man, X, Y, and Z. Maybe reach out to this friend, or it might be I'm this and this is gonna happen, and you're gonna run for Congress, or you're gonna whatever. Ask God to come to your heart, man. I really can't emphasize that enough. It is just, it's do that, dude. Just do that. So, um,
Yep.
but yeah. So please copy paste those links, send them to me. I'll put them right in the description. I'll upload it right after this. Thank you
Yeah.
for doing it, dude. I'll love to have you back on. And
Anytime.
yeah, hell yeah, brother. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
All right, dude. Guys, hey guys, real quick, you guys know Basil Baz, ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children. I just did a fundraiser with them the other day, and I'm going to put this on to every episode I do. They are special forces veterans who physically rescue trafficked children. They have since 1993. They have a 100% success rate. They do not take salaries. They all have day jobs, and they literally rescue sex trafficked children. Donations to them are a tax write-off. I get nothing from them, and they have not asked me to put this on. I've included this little clip on episodes for the last year or so, and I'm just re-recording it because I just got to meet him just 2 days ago for future. It's November 25th, 2025, but this will be on every episode now for the next year. And there is nothing better you can do with your money. Um, if you can support them for even $5, please do that. It is, they truly are doing the Lord's work, and I think we all have an obligation to do that. Thank you so much.
Higher ultraviolet exposure is associated with lower mortality. The United Kingdom is a high latitude and low sunlight country. Researchers there collected data on over 360,000 participants in a study of UV exposure via solarium use. When compared with non-users, solarium users had 15% risk lowered of all-cause mortality, 23% lower risk of cardiovascular mortality, 14% lower risk of cancer mortality, and a 12% lower risk of non-cardiovascular, non-cancer mortality. In other words, all other causes. Quoting the researchers, our study adds to the growing evidence that the benefits of UV exposure outweigh the risks in low sunlight environments. A link to the original publication is available in the box below the video. Get some UV light this winter. Immerse yourself in the tranquility of the blue. Visit a Blue Room soon. www.blueroom.com.
Hey guys, a huge sponsor of the show is Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food. Clayton lives down in Georgia. He's been on the show before. It's actually nearby where I went to college. They are a huge sponsor of the show. They give me some money every month, even when I don't sell enough to warrant that paycheck. Meaning that the show is not free. It's just that it's free for you. If you guys need prepper food, or if you're just interested in supporting the show, I'd please ask you to go to the link in the description. Go to Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, promo code TPC for 10% off. 72 servings per pail, 25-year shelf life. These things are, they double as dumbbells. Pasta Primavera, cheesy potato soup, mac and cheese, loaded baked potato casserole, chili mac, cheddar broccoli soup, cheesy lasagna, teriyaki rice. You can get banana chips. There's also raspberries, strawberries, and apples. There's a bunch of freeze-dried fruit, or you can even get seeds to plant your own garden. It's not a bad thing to have. It's like gold or ammunition. It's a good thing to have. It's a bad thing if you have to use it, but it's good. It's good to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So that's what I'd say. And if you just want to support the show, please go to the link in the description. Please go support them because they support me. Thank you so much, guys.